Flack Talk with James Canning, the podcast with the inside scoop on journalists from San Diego and across the nation. If you're a communications pro, have a nose for news, or you're just nosy, this is the podcast for you. Now here's your host, James Canning.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Flack Talk. I have a great guest today, Humberto Gurmilan, author and former television sports anchor for Telemundo San Diego. Hey Beto, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks James. It's awesome to be here. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to join you.
No, I think it's really our honor and our pleasure to have you. I mean, I think you have a wonderful story. You know, for those who maybe don't know Beto, I got to know him because he and I were working together at the County of San Diego. He was working for one supervisor. I was working for another supervisor. They often worked together on projects, which meant he and I got to work together in trying to, tell the good news of the work that our bosses were doing at the county. He wears many hats. Right now he's, big corporate hotshot in the public affairs, public relations space for a corporation that doesn't advertise here, so I don't think I'm going to say their name. Yeah. But, he told me about this book, and I got a chance to read it, and I'm really excited to kind of talk with him about that and his career here. So thank you so much for even making the time to come on.
My pleasure, James. Like I said, I appreciate you having me, and definitely, it's only been months since we were, or I was back at the county, but definitely brings a lot of memories, a lot of the things we went through. We were in different offices, but definitely going through a lot of the same things. So great times there, and yeah, many hats, different role, but a lot of the same stuff, communication, which is something I'm really, really passionate about.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, we're going to get into a couple of these hats that we talk about, or I talked about at the beginning here, that Beto wears. And the first one I really want to dive into, which kind of leads us into a lot of the other twists and turns of his career and life, really start with this book that I read, that Beto wrote, called Waves of Courage, Overcoming Adversity by Harnessing the Courage Within You. That's the full book title. It's an inspirational book. It's about your life. Can you, for folks that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about what the book is about?
Yeah, thanks, James. It's really a passion, book that I put together because I really, really felt the need to share more about my story, but more about the stories that I've encountered and some of the things that I've been through that I often share with people one-on-one or in the community. And I just wanted to put it down in a book and in a little bit more refined way, because I wrote another book a long time ago, which is called From My Chair, which is more of an autobiography and stories like that as well. But this one really just, it's more down to the point in sharing stories and ideas and metaphors and everything that I can throw at you just to get you to understand that, as a reader, that you have, the power, to find the courage to do whatever the hell you want to do, really. So it's basically that idea, and I really enjoyed putting it together. I enjoyed writing it. I had great help from a good friend, Alex Montoya, who was helped with the editing and some other folks that obviously read it. But I'm just really happy it's out. Really happy it turned out the way it did, because I'm getting a lot of really great feedback. So that's really amazing.
No, that's great. That's great. I'm glad that it's getting that feedback, because it's well worth it. I mean, I've read the book. And I want to get into some of those parts, but for maybe those who haven't read the first book, would you mind sharing a little bit about maybe that adversity that you referring to that you had to overcome?
Right. So just a little background. I was born here in Chula Vista, which is where I live, but grew up for the most part south of the border in Tijuana. My dad is a dentist, and he doesn't practice anymore, but he was a dentist down there. Had his practice, and we grew up. I'm the oldest of three, growing up in the border, kind of like a border person that goes back and forth. I have family here.
Binational, man. You were binational. You were going back and forth.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's the word. And just grew up like a normal kid. But one thing led to another. I fell in love with surfing at one point in my life, I started doing that every day passionately. I stopped playing other sports and doing other stuff because I loved surfing. And unfortunately, one day I went out surfing like every other day, and I ended up diving off my board, hitting the bottom of the ocean in the last wave of the day, and instantly became paralyzed. I broke my neck. I was fortunate that my buddy Pablo, may he rest in peace, he passed away recently. He pulled me out of the water, helped me out, and then my journey started there. But obviously, a traumatic event like that, I share it with you in a few seconds, but it obviously was a traumatic experience for me, for my family. It was a life-altering event for everybody around me, even friends and my community, because it was just such a shocking event that really shook everybody around me and changed things. And for a while, it was really challenging. It was really difficult. It's still challenging at some days and sometimes, but for the most part, I'm really blessed to be where I'm at. I'm going on 29 years. Actually, this month is September 23 is going to be 29 years since the accident, and I feel blessed to be where I'm at. I feel completely fortunate to have the journey that I've had, the experiences that I've been able to have, because at one point I was really close to not making it, and so every day for me is a blessing. Every hour, every day, every opportunity, every relationship that I get to establish, every conversation, every talk, every moment like this, for me, it's valuable. So I appreciate each and every one of them.
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about that, because look, when you read the book, Waves of Courage, you gain what Beto was just saying. Like you hear more about his story and the back and forth and the things that he had to deal with, after the accident. And the ups and downs as you're kind of going through life, and you have dreams. And look, I mean, you've made, from what I can tell, most of them happen. And so I think that that's a testament to your will and intensity in wanting to, achieve them, but also obviously the support system and so forth. And, there was, when I was reading the book, so folks, it's a really conversational book. It's about 120 pages. I went down to the beach one day and I was just sitting there and I read it. And there was this one section, so like I said, 120 pages, about page 19. This is the one that really got me to sit there the entire day and read it. I read slow, so it took me all day. But anyway, but I'm gonna read it to you folks, because I just think there's something to this, and then I want to talk to Beto a little bit about what it meant for him. So page 19, bottom of the page, it says, "My father was holding the rail of the bed. He was talking about life and the situation we were in as a family. He was also trying to make sense of things from his perspective. So in a moment of desperation, I decided to ask a question. Why me? Dad, why me? Why was it me that was in that bed? What had I done wrong to deserve what I was going through?" He looked overwhelmed by my sadness and that query. Silently, he stood for a minute. Pensively, he looked at the ground, and then he looked back at me and he replied, "Why not?" Like, Beto, for me, when I saw that, and I read that, it felt like it was like, I want to know, what it was like, to hear your father say that to you in that moment. And because to me, it felt like it was like he was saying, "Son, you can handle this. Let's fucking go. You can do this." And I don't know, it grabbed me, man. And I sat on that beach all day and got all the way through 120 pages, because it just kept me wanting to know more and more and more. And I knew you, but I didn't know a lot of the stuff in this book. Would you mind sharing with our folks, what was that moment like?
Yeah, and thanks for reading that, James. It really brings back that memory. It feels like it was yesterday, because it's so vivid and so fresh in my mind, and it just stuck with me. And obviously during those days and those hours, I was feeling it was the worst, some of the worst moments in life, because at that point, I wanted it to end. I wanted, not to end what was going through. I just wanted to end life. but I was so powerless that I couldn't even do that on my own. So I was feeling, like that, and extremely depressed and extremely hopeless and all that. But I don't know why I asked that question. I think it was just a question that I had in my mind that I was asking God. And obviously God sometimes, he doesn't respond to you very quickly like that. But my dad, took a little bit. He did. And I don't know if it immediately hit me, but that moment, it was like it's go time. You can either shrivel up in this bed and die and just, decompose, or you can just step it up, do whatever you have to do, and make the best out of that situation. So it was really, I give my dad a whole bunch of credit because he was young, man. I think he was like 40 something. And to get that question asked in that moment, he was obviously going through some things himself. It's a whole different story, but he was going through some really, really crazy challenges. He had a moment where he also had like a comeback moment, which is amazing. Maybe that's for another story, but for me, that was it. And like I said, I don't know if that moment was, at that time I started, kind of changing my attitude, but the following day it's like, I have no choice. I mean, there's nothing else to do. I can either, be miserable and choose that path, or I can, I can step up and start my comeback. So, for me, that was a life-changing moment. I really, I'm grateful that my dad was there and that, he had the courage to say that, because some parents might have, said something different that would have kept me in the same mental state. But, he was blunt, he was straight up, and he said, you know what, why not? Who are you to not be in the situation? Yeah. So that kind of changed me. It changed my thought process eventually, and I started maturing really, really fast after that, which helped a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was bold to say that, right? Because some parents, they just want to hold you and kind of coddle you. And I'm sure he did and wanted to do all those things. But at that moment, he's like, son, father to son, I'm going to kind of push him and, or say this thing that maybe strikes him a little bit. But I think that was, at least for, obviously the moment struck you, but as a reader, it stuck out. It like punched me in the jaw and was like, all right, I got to keep going, man, all day. I'm going to sit here and read this,
Yeah, and the idea is like not many people will find themselves in that situation, but it's very often during the day we start kind of going into a mindset where we're lamenting things, or we're feeling like a victim, or just tired or whatever. You know what? Like, you can do it. You just got to change that mentality, flip that switch, and get things done, and you're going to get through it and feel better, and eventually you're going to look back and say, wow, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I pushed forward. I'm so glad I decided to keep on moving. And that's really what I wanted to get across with that, by sharing that moment. And I always share it. I try to share it, at each of my whenever I do presentations or something like that, because I think it was key in my life, and hopefully it's key for other people.
Yeah. Well, and the whole book really, like, it's, when you read it, there's a lot of that, you use your life as kind of this platform to really give other people hope. And one of the things that you talked about really is your desire and your dream to be, a television news sports anchor. In the book, you kind of detail, how you became one, and I'm wondering, would you give our listeners kind of a little bit of insight into that, because that really opened the door for, one, to do the thing you wanted to do, but then two, just it seemed like it opened up a whole nother kind of, as I read it, in the foundation world and your philanthropic work, it kind of opened that door too. So would you mind sharing with folks kind of a little bit of that journey? I mean, don't tell them everything. I want them to buy the book and read all about it, but a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's a long story, so I wouldn't be able to fit it all here in a few minutes. But yeah, no, ever since I can remember, I wanted to be a sportscaster. I remember listening to the Padres broadcast and Jerry Coleman on the microphone calling the Padres games, and I would mimic him, and I would mimic what he would do, and that's what told me I wanted to go into sports. Obviously, when the accident happened, my life changed like that. All of that went on the back burner, so I didn't really think about that sort of stuff. Eventually, once I got my life back, quote unquote, normal, quote unquote life back.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to school and I started thinking, okay, what can I do? I can't be like in construction. I can't be a fighter pilot. I can't be a fireman. I can't do all these things. I'm realistic. I can't be an NBA player, but I can, do certain things. I can communicate. I'm good at communicating. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go for my goal. I'm gonna go for my dream, which is to be a journalist. I didn't necessarily think I was going to be a sportscaster. I just wanted to go into journalism.
Got it.
And, I did my coursework at Southwestern College, San Diego State, and did all the things that I had to do. And eventually one thing led to another. An opportunity came up and I seized it at Telemundo here in San Diego. And at 24 years of age, I was doing sports on TV for thousands and thousands of people, which was pretty amazing. And I ended up doing it for about 14 years, which it's unofficial, but I think I'm like the Guinness World Record holder for somebody with quadriplegic or with a spinal cord injury on television. I'm
wow.
Just keep that for myself. I don't think that's official, but I'm pretty sure I get the longest tenure.
Guinness Book of World Records. If you're listening right now, you need to come talk to Beto.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's it's funny because you said that, and for those that read the book, you're gonna. And we're going to get into this a little bit, but sports has been a big part of your life. Like you enjoyed it all. Yeah. And then you kind of noted there's some parts in the book where you talk about you and your friend and how you guys used to, mimic play-by-play, certain things, and then obviously surfing became a really big thing. And so it just kind of married that idea of I can communicate and then I get to talk about sports and stuff. I mean, that's, that must have been, I think one of the things to me was like, that struck me when I read, I still read, was the idea that, there was like, I don't know, there was like this jubilance that I felt jumped off the page to me, when you got the job. Like maybe that was just me rooting you on as I read through the book, but I don't know, like, what did it really feel like when you got it? Knowing that you kind of went from that, like, that little bit of low point, and then you were like, just got it because I don't know what I just want.
Yeah, it was like, thanks for asking that because it really makes me remember how it felt. It was just such a long journey, especially after going through what I went through and going through the things that I had to get through in terms of education, in terms of all the things that I did in terms of work and working for that goal. Obviously, a lot of those things were harder than normal because of my disability, because of illness, because of things that would always get in the way in terms of challenges. And that's my normal. That's status quo for me. Everything, I have to be even more. I have to work harder than most people. I have to be faster. I have to try to do things better than everybody else because everybody has an edge on me, right? Because of the disability. And I don't say it as in, I have that as an excuse. It's just that's the way it is. So just being able to finally get that job and get the nod from the general manager that day when they pulled me into the office and say, congratulations, you're a new sportscaster. For me, it was almost like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders, but it really just made me, like you said, jubilant. But it was overwhelming because I remember driving home and almost crying because I was so happy, and I was tell my parents that I finally did it, right, after many years, after so many weekends sacrificed in the newsroom, in the college newspaper, so many weekends traveling with the speech team during college, and so much work that I put in finally happened, and it was all because I did the work. I worked really hard, and the opportunity, when it came, I was able to seize it. Obviously had a lot of help in the journey. And I've had help, throughout my, last 29 years to get to where I'm at. So that's always something that I mention because I haven't done it alone. But at that moment, I felt like I was at top of the mountain.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I got to ask because, like, I'm kind of like I'm a sports fanboy, right? And, like, being there 14 years, like, I got to ask, like, were there anything that were just, like, unbelievable experiences in sports you got to either talk about on television or see up close, or I don't know, like I have a Yeah, I love sports, and I think that it would be so cool to, like, that's your job. You get to just report. Like, if I could have reported on what happened to the Lions this past week, it would be great, and tell everybody about it. What about you? Do you have any, like, fun moments or exciting moments?
Yeah, definitely. Congrats, by the way, for that first one.
We'll take it. Hopefully it's not the last one, but we'll...
No, but yeah, two things. First one, I would always love, because I had my credentials, so I could go in and out of games and, the stadiums whenever I wanted to. So I would go and just sit on the field in my wheelchair and watch batting practice when the Padres were at home. That was one of my favorite things to do. I would just enjoy that so much. But one that I always remember, and you would get a kick out of this, was Old Qualcomm Stadium when the Chargers were here in town, and I would cover the team. A couple of times I was heading down to the field through the tunnel, and I accidentally timed it perfectly to where the whole team was heading out into the field. So I had to stop in the tunnel and just, kind of move to the side with my wheelchair because I was in the way, and just have all the players all pumped up, all getting hyped up, screaming, hollering, and hooting and all that, heading out onto the field. And that was one of my favorite moments. And I know you'd get a kick out of that. For me, that was one of the coolest things that I ever saw. And then obviously when they're out, the fireworks and all that. So it's just like adrenaline. 100%.
Yeah, man. Those are both awesome experiences. I mean, the fact that you have to be so up close and personal with it, like that's, I think that's...
Yeah, the golden ticket.
The golden ticket.
For sure.
That's great. Well, I'm going to... I got a couple more questions before we really hit our breaking news round. I want to talk, about the story in Waves of Courage, where, you were essentially a celebrity, television celebrity in town, and folks knew you, and you became aware of kind of a situation with a little girl who had a disability, and you really used your gravitas in the community to really help her, and that really seemed like, I believe, if I make sure I read it right, like that was kind of the starting point of your foundation, which I would love you to talk about a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that after many, many years of working and fulfilling my dream, I started to realize that, okay, so I've done this for myself. How can I use this for others? And I never had a plan to do it. I never, thought that would be kind of the road that I would head into. But like you said, one time I got wind of a young lady that was struggling. She was she didn't have sight, and she was struggling with school. She was struggling because she was an orphan. She was living with her grandma. All these like just huge barriers and challenges that she had, but she would still wake up at 4:30 in the morning to catch the bus to go to school. She had great grades in spite of all the BS that she had to deal with, all the bullying and all that. And I said, you know what? Let me figure something out. Let me see how we can help her. And started talking to people, and we put together, just not it wasn't even fundraising. We just got, clothes and stuff that we donated to her, and so that her grandma could, do like garage sales, so she could provide for her education. And that's what opened a whole new world for me. I said, you know what? This is something that I want to do, and it snowballed into a nonprofit foundation, which I'm really proud to still work on with a bunch of folks that help, and community members and family and friends that are into it as well. That we're all collectively working together to provide now scholarships and grants to individuals with disabilities. We've done some surf camps. We do a bunch of really cool stuff, but really it's all about just helping others. Because I like I mentioned earlier, for me, I've received so much help, and so many doors have been opened for me, and so many people have pushed me, literally and figuratively forward, that I feel it's my responsibility to now open doors for others and help others, achieve their goals, achieve their dreams. Because if I did it, right, if I, with all the challenges that I had, if I was able to accomplish all the things that I was able to accomplish and am accomplishing, that means there's thousands out there, individuals that with a little help, with a little opportunity, with a little boost, they can reach their potential. And it's only a matter of providing a little bit of help. And hopefully that's what we're doing.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's like there's a lot of people that reach their goals and their dreams and do a lot of things, and they just kind of sit on it. You know, they don't help anybody. And the fact that you're doing that and is fantastic. I love, you know, give the foundation a plug, and we'll make sure that we put information about the foundation in the show notes here. Tell folks what's the name of the foundation and how can they find out more about it.
Yeah, it's Gurmilan Foundation, so it's my last name and then foundation.org. We're a 501c3, so we're established. We have a really great board and a whole bunch of people that support us. And, you know, there's multiple ways of helping. I think the biggest way people can help is just signing up and you know, following on social media and all that, so that you know when our events are coming up and when we need support. Because we're not doing it, like I said, we're not doing it by ourselves. It's a community thing. It's not my foundation. It's our foundation, I always say. I just, you know, started it. I was fortunate to be able to have the means to start it, but this is for our community, and anybody can join. Anybody can be a part of it. It's, you know, everything that we do is inspiring. There's a lot of healing and helping others. So a lot of people get that as well. So there's so many great things that come out of it, and I'm just happy that we have the opportunity to do the work that we're doing and help others.
That's fantastic, man. Like I said, we're going to put some information in there, folks, and you should take a look. You know, obviously we're going to put some stuff about Waves of Courage, but we're also going to put some stuff about the foundation in the show notes. And you should get connected to both. I think you're going to be really inspired by both, folks.
Awesome.
You know, I got one more question before we hit this breaking news round. I want to come back to the sports thing, man. I'm sorry I just keep coming back to it. I just
let's do it.
But it's a little bit of both. So like I'm a sucker for like a good comeback underdog story, right? Rocky, Rudy, Cool Runnings, Little Giants. You know, I picked all these sports ones because we're talking. You're the sports anchor, Telemundo. You know, I gotta pick the sports stuff. But like, you know, in the book, you give, and in all those movies, there was somebody who always had like some nuggets of wisdom or said the right thing at the right time, or you know, I mean, would you mind? And when you read Waves of Courage, like there's a lot of that, and I'm wondering if there's like a couple things or a couple phrases or sayings or just experiences that you could share with our listeners, these kind of waves of courage about coming back, and like what are some of those, you know, the crests in those waves that allow folks to maybe be inspired a little bit. Drop some of your wisdom on us, Beto. Come on.
I'm gonna try. Most of it's in the book because it's on paper, but let me try. But I think the biggest thing that I always share and that I like to emphasize is that you gotta love the challenges and accept the challenges in your life, because they're gonna make you stronger. They're gonna make you better, and they're gonna give you the tools that you need to move forward and to do greater things. I think that most of us, when we encounter like a very difficult situation, we tend to lament it or to, you know, feel down and why, and, you know, this sucks and so on and so forth. I've found, obviously I don't like challenge, like I don't like difficult moments. I don't like difficult things.
Yeah, none of us do. None of us do.
Yeah, but now I almost look forward to the next one, because there's always something that you can learn from it. And there's always something you're going to be better, you know, afterwards. So go through the challenge, accept it, love it, maybe not fall in love with it, but maybe just accept it, go through it. You'll look back and you'll be like, okay, I understand why that happened, and I know I'm better now. I'm able to face any other challenge. I think that's the main, you know, piece of little wisdom that I can share. That's one of the main things that I've learned overall. And then the second one is establish really good relationships with your family, with your friends, and keep those relationships strong. Nothing that we do we do by ourselves. If you think about it, there's always somebody that's going to help in a certain way or at certain times. So the people around you are extremely important, and it could be one person. Some of us are more, you know, loners, and we like one or two people. Some I have a ton of people around me, and I'm grateful and blessed for that. But keep those relationships strong. You know, love those people. foster those relationships, keep in touch, share ideas, share thoughts, make those relationships genuine and meaningful, and you're never going to need anything else. Trust me.
Well said. Well said. And I think you'll see a lot of that wisdom that Beto just gave us here in Waves of Courage. So,
Awesome.
Pick that up. So, Beto, look, we've learned a lot about you. We've learned a lot about your career and your life, and the ability that you have to overcome and reach your goals, and then give back. I think all those things are extremely important. They show what kind of person you are and why so many people want to support the things that you're doing. And I just want to get deeper into your psyche a little bit, man. And we do this thing called the breaking news round to do that. It's like do breaking news, and I got like 10 questions that I ask. I've adapted them from like the Actors Studio. Actually, I just stole them and used the same thing, but I keep saying I adapted them. And these are things we want to just gets us a little bit deeper into your psyche. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So
stretching my neck and arms and everything. You can't see that, but I'm getting pumped.
All right. What is your favorite word?
I think I love the word resilience. Just what it means and how important it is for just each and every one of our journeys. I think just being resilient is such an important quality to have.
Yeah. Is there a word that you dislike? It's like your least favorite word?
Oh, there's so many. Nah, I think the word can't, and I know it's a cliche, and probably people are like, of course can't. It doesn't. No, I hate can't, especially when somebody tells me I can't. It's like there's something inside of me that turns my stomach. It's like, of course I might not be able to, but that's not going to stop me from trying. So can't is one of those where it's like,
Yeah, no, that's a good one. No one said that, by the way. Of all the people we've had on so far, no one has used that word. So maybe it's not as cliche as you think.
Yeah, there you go.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Oh man, I think good conversations. Having good conversations, deep conversations, that really gets me going. Obviously surfing is number one. Like that's the one thing that I can't even explain what it does. It's so amazing. But having a good conversation, a deep conversation with somebody, that's just like bliss for me. It's just so good. Learning from others.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Hey, you said something, and maybe people didn't catch this in the earlier part of our conversation, so I'm just going to say it, and then they're going to have to read Waves of Courage to really understand it. But there's a point. So you talked about how the accident happened when you dove off the surfboard, but you surf again now. You do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the way you talk about it in the book and how it came about and the fact that you're still doing it, folks, you read Waves of Courage, you're going to learn how and why and what got Beto to get back on that surfboard even after that accident. So thanks for dropping that, because I think that's a big important point. You didn't just love surfing and it went away. You just kept you ended up keeping on doing it, which was great.
It took a few years to get back in the water, and it took a village, like they say. But I was able to surf again, and now I have my own adapted board, and I go in the water once in a while with some help. Obviously, I don't stand on the board. I lay on it and I prone.
Yeah. But
if people can imagine that, I still ride waves almost like a huge boogie board, and I'm able to be in the water, and so it's still pretty amazing, and I value it each wave now more than ever.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a little like breaking news in the breaking news round there.
There you go.
Thanks for diverting there. What turned you off?
Oh geez, that's a really good one. I think just people being unkind to other people. I think that's just something that, there's really no need for it. There's really no reason why, that's something that should happen, but that's something that really, turns me off, and it really kind of gets me angry. So that's that's probably it.
Yeah, no, that's good. All right. This is the one I ask people, and they either giggle or they don't. But what's your favorite curse word?
No mames in Spanish. I think that's one that it's kind of like, what the F, right? I have multiple.
Wait, say it again. Will you say it again? What is it again? Say it
No
again.
mames is like, it has multiple, you can use it in multiple ways. It's kind of like the F word, but not as vulgar to some people. But no mames is like when somebody tells you, "Hey, I won the lottery." No mames, it's like, don't, you're BS bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like that, but you can use it in so many ways, and it's so versatile.
Okay.
That I like to use it.
No mames.
There you go.
All right. All right. What sound or noise do you love?
This is a good one. I love the sound of waves, crashing and a good, wave barreling. Just, there's nothing like it. It just, brings me so many memories, and I just love it.
Yeah. Is there a sound or noise that you don't like or you hate?
People in pain, man. I've people going through pain and suffering, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. I think those are the things that really, get me.
Yeah.
So I'd rather obviously avoid it, but if I have to go through something where I need to help somebody, I'll do it. But yeah, that sort of stuff is just, I don't know. It's like, sometimes I think it's kind of like a curse to be so empathetic. It almost hurts
Yeah.
on my end.
Yeah. Is there a profession, other than the one you have today, that you would like to attempt? I mean, we've established now you've been a journalist, you run a foundation, you're a communications guy, I mean, you've done a lot. You're an elected leader, have served in elected office. I mean, is there any other job that you would like to attempt? Or
I would have loved to like fly fighter jets. That, I know it's like maybe because I saw Top Gun too many times. That would be a job, or even just like any type of aircraft would be cool. Be a pilot, even just like a jetliner, whatever. Being a pilot would be one of my, probably my first choice if I had a choice.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I have to connect you with Art Castaneras from La Prensa. He's a pilot. He flies planes on his own, like his own little single engine ones. It's kind of crazy.
That's sweet. I got to connect with him.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is there a profession that you wouldn't want to do?
I think, I don't know if there's one that I wouldn't want to do. Maybe one where I wouldn't have contact with other folks. I'm just such a social human being, and I think that just being inside all the time would be very, very challenging. Not talking to people. I think that would be not an ideal job for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Beto, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Probably, you know what? Probably I would love for him to say, "Good job. Like, you did really well with the opportunity you had, on Earth." That's what I hope. I hope that's what, in the end, that would be my goal. So if I accomplish that goal and he says that, I'd be happy. I would maybe say, if he tells me I can surf, maybe that in heaven, I would expect that. So I definitely would love to hear him say, "Hey, good job. You accomplished what I wanted you to accomplish." That'd be sweet.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Beto, that ends our breaking news round. But just like when you were a journalist, and you get that like one last chance to ask that final question. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our Flack Talk listeners before we let you go?
No, I think I would love to just let people know that there's always hope out there, as long as you think positive and choose to think positive. I think that we get stuck also in just a lot of the negativity that's out there. Negative thoughts and negative ideas, negative voices are louder always. especially nowadays with everything going on in society. I think it's easy to get caught up in the negative of the world. So always make an effort, even at the moment you wake up, make an effort to think, positive things, and to really find the things that make you feel good. Find the things that make you feel complete. Establish those good relationships, foster those good relationships that are positive, that are that have a positive impact in your life. And when you start doing that, just surrounding yourself with good vibes, good people, good ideas, and doing good things for others, everything else starts falling into place, and your life is going to be so much better. And for me, that's been a key for myself, and that's something that I share all the time. So I would definitely, share it here one more time, because it does make a difference. We have one shot, man. We have one shot. I got two, but most people get one shot at this. And if you do it right, that moment when you're, looking back, when you're 70, hopefully 80 or whatever, looking back in your life, you can say, you know what, that was well lived. And I think that should be our goal, moving forward for everybody.
That's great. That's great. That's a great way to end the show. Beto, thanks for being on the show today. Thanks for, imparting your wisdom on us, sharing your story, and really hopefully giving some other people hope. Because I'm sure there's folks out there that, whether it was, a situation like you've dealt with or something else in their life, like, I don't know, I found a lot of nuggets in here that, frankly, there were things that I related back to moments in my life. And so I think that Waves of Courage was a really good read, man, and I'm glad you took the time to come on and tell us more about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate, the relationship that we have, and I've always keep an eye out for your episodes. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. But like I said, this is something that I like to share, because it's almost like part of my life mission. So for me, I'm fulfilling that small mission, and I'm extremely grateful. So thanks, man. I appreciate it.
If you liked Flack Talk and want to learn more about your favorite muckrakers and newsbreakers, please hit the subscribe button or visit flacktalk.com. New Flack Talk episodes with James Canning air every other Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts.